Good morning, please. Hope everyone is okay, and I'm happy to see all of you, and I'm much happy to interact with you also. Welcome to our today's lesson, and I hope you're going to enjoy our lesson. Actually, by show of hands, who can remind me, or who can remember, who has ever seen his great great grandfather? Oh, I hope no one has ever seen them because they were there, they passed away, your great grandfathers came in, your grandparents came in up to your parents, and right now it is you now who do exist. So, in our today's lesson, actually, without much ado, we are going to look at the generations of computer. Just like human beings, the computer have gone through different generations. These generations have been coming out from one generation to the next generation, which has been happening gradually. So if you look at the generation, in chronological order, these generations started in the year 1940s. That is when we started with the first generation of computer. And the first generation of computer, which actually was invented in the 1940s, ran all the way to the 1956. It was using a certain electronic component called a vacuum tube. A vacuum tube, it used to consume a lot of heat, making the first generation computers, those computers that were in it, to be big in size. So the computers in this generation, you'll find that they were too huge. So being huge, these computers had small storage capacity because of the vacuum tubes. From the first generation, we had the second generation, that is in 1956 to 1963. And the second generation computers, they used a different electronic component, which was actually different from the first generation. The second generation used transistors. Contrary to vacuum tubes, transistors actually, they used very reduced electronic components in the transfer of electronic. So the transistors made the second generation computers to be a little bit smaller in size as compared to the first generation type of computers. So transistors, this electronic component, made the second generation computers to be fast, a little bit faster than the first generation. Efficiency started improving in comparison to the first generation kind of computers. Moving from the second generation computers, we went all the way to the third generation of computers. The third generation of computers, that in the year 1963 all the way to the year 1971, now these computers in the third generation, they used what we call integrated circuit. The integrated circuit now has a lot of transistors, which was a bit different from the second generation because it had a lot of transistors. And this generation of computers, it was now fast and efficiency in the delivery of services. It could perform calculations at the fastest rate, and you'll find in this generation, contrary to the first two generations, these ones used punch cards in inputting data. Data could be printed in big printouts. But in the third generation, things changed. People or users could interact with the keyboard, you could interact with the monitor in performing your duties. That was now the big difference between the third generation type of computers, and the first and the second type of computers. Moving all the way to the fourth generation computers, the fourth generation of computers, now they were improved. They were more improved in comparison to the first, second, and third computers. First to the third generation of computers. It was a bit improved because the technology that was used in the fourth generation, it was a bit integrated. It was not the same as the first and the second and the third. The fourth generation kind of computers, actually they were more improved. They used an electronic component called a microprocessor. A microprocessor, it is very small in comparison to vacuum tubes, transistors, and IC, which is the integrated circuit. The microprocessor, from the word micro, it simply means something small in size. The laptops, the phones that we have, they contain this microprocessor thing. It is very minute, very small. So the smaller it is, but the efficiency it delivers the services, accuracy it delivers the services, and that is actually how good it is. And if you look at this type of computers, they are cheaper in comparison to all the other generation of computers. They were cheap. They are very cheap. But if you look at the first generation, big, expensive, a lot of heat, and whatsoever. But this generation was a bit cheaper in comparison to the other three. So here, if you look at this one, there was efficiency, as I'm telling you, the fourth generation, there was efficiency, there was accuracy and performing calculations. Things were very easy, and that is the things now we are interacting with in our daily lives. We go all the way to the fifth generation. Now, fifth generation, now it's more improved. Now this one is used to the intelligence. That is artificial intelligence. That is voice recognition. You will get it in the fifth generation. Barcode readers, fifth generation. Now things are very improved. You can go to Google. You talk. It just Google brings to you what you want. Just talk to it. You instruct it, and it brings whatever you want. It's due to the artificial intelligence. Maybe in the sixth generation, how things are going to change. We are going to have more improved. The technology is going to be more improved in comparison with the five generations that we have just taught today. So I think up to where we have reached, I want you to remind yourself about those generations. I want you to practice more on those generations of computers. And then when we meet in our next class, I want you to come up with more. Look at the advantages. Actually, go more deeper into all those generations. Come up with the advantages and disadvantages in each generation. Because the first generation, we have looked at it, we have looked at actually what it contained. Go through it, revise with your friends, go into your groups, discuss, so that when we meet in our next class, it will be easier for us to go through in our next lesson. So I want to wish you all the best in the next